Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje takes place this weekend in the main event of UFC 254, Khabib versus Gaethje, and I can't wait for this matchup. You've got undefeated, undisputed lightweight world champion Khabib Nurmagomedov as the champion right now, and it feels like it's a bad time to be a lightweight contender because it feels like right now Khabib Nurmagomedov fights seem to be one-way traffic, and there seems to be glimmers of hope in there somewhere, whether it be a round going to Conor McGregor, one punch from Michael Johnson landing that just pops Khabib's head back a little bit, Ally Quinta getting his face jabbed off in rounds 4 and 5, but landing a couple of punches and defending a takedown or two. These are the glimmers of hope that we are clinging on to if we want to see Khabib lose a fight, but it doesn't feel like it's going to happen anytime soon. Justin Gaethje thinks otherwise. He's very confident in himself, and why wouldn't you be confident in yourself if you just went out there and beat Tony Ferguson? Whatever you think about that fight, I thought the fight was a lot closer than some people imagine, but nothing can be taken away from Gaethje's performance. He beat Tony Ferguson, beat him in the 5th round. He was taken over. It was a good win. It was a solid win. It was a clear win over the most dangerous contender in the world, Tony Ferguson, not to be called champion. Gaethje's a savage. You can't deny the man, and you can't deny his confidence right now after just beating basically champion B of the lightweight division in the past 5 years. Like, Tony Ferguson, in my opinion, has been seen as a champion in the lightweight division for a while now. Even though he hasn't officially had that UFC world title, undisputed world title around his waist, I feel like a lot of people have seen Tony Ferguson as the champion for a very long time, including when Khabib got his belt from Ally Quinta. I still didn't know who the champion was, but when Khabib obviously went on and beat McGregor, beat Dustin Poirier, he solidified himself as the best lightweight in the world right now. Of course, Tony Ferguson, after losing to Justin Gaethje, somewhat falls out of that argument, but Gaethje's going in there against Khabib. The true test of a man's career. How do you deal with Khabib Nurmagomedov? I don't know why I like saying his name so much, but it's just very fun to say. But still, Khabib's dangerous, okay? And Gaethje's dangerous as well, and this is a very dangerous fight, much like every single Khabib fight. I know there are some Khabib fans out there that say that Khabib can't lose, there's no way of anyone beating him. This is MMA. In my opinion, in MMA, no one at any point in a championship fight should be more than a 2-1 favourite. That's just kind of how MMA works. I don't think there should be these crazy favourites in these fights because anything can happen out of nowhere. Khabib could duck down, look for a big shovel uppercut that he goes for, and then Gaethje just tags him with a fadeaway check hook, and all of a sudden Khabib's out cold. These things can happen. Whether or not I think they're going to happen is a very different story. I feel like Khabib's going to go out there against Justin Gaethje and make a highlight out of him and finish him in the first round by submission. And that's not because I don't think Gaethje is a massive threat. I could see Gaethje as a higher percentage threat to Khabib than someone else, but I could pick that someone else to lose by decision and Gaethje to lose immediately in the first round. I don't think this is going to be an immediate shutout. I think Gaethje's going to land some punches on the feet. I think Khabib's going to land some punches on the feet. I think it's going to be... They're not going to be punching each other in the feet. I mean, they're going to be landing some punches whilst standing up. That's a weird saying that we've come up with. They're not Darren Stewart and anyone out there. But still, Khabib Nurmagomedov, dangerous on the feet as well. People count out his stand-up so much because I feel like when someone is so dominant at grappling, people look at other parts of their game in a more biased fashion, okay? Khabib's stand-up is not terrible. I understand it's nowhere near the level of his grappling, and wherever someone has success, it seems to be on the feet. But the fact of the matter is, Khabib was on the feet with McGregor in the 3rd round, and McGregor didn't embarrass him, expose him. Like, I know Conor McGregor was gassed out at that point after a 2nd round of a complete beating by Khabib, which was pretty much a 10-8 round overall. I believe it was scored a 10-8 round as well, by the way. It was a devastating round for McGregor. Comes back in the 3rd. But Khabib was not just lost on the feet against McGregor. He was landing some good shots. He even dropped McGregor in that fight. I know it wasn't scored an official knockdown, but it kind of was a knockdown. I know it's not a technical knockdown if McGregor's ass doesn't touch the ground or his knees don't touch the ground. It was an official knockdown in my opinion, I feel like anyway. I know my opinion doesn't really mean anything here because the commission makes up whether or not something's a knockdown, but in my opinion, Khabib Nurmagomedov knocked down Conor McGregor, and that needs to be said because Gaethje is going to have the same problem that Conor McGregor had. You're not just out there striking with Khabib Nurmagomedov while you're on the feet. You're striking with Khabib, who can take you down or go for a takedown at any moment while you're trying to throw a punch, You could look for a feint and Khabib could be in on a single leg. You could try and load up a jab and Khabib's in on a double leg. You could try and throw a hook and Khabib's pushing you towards the cage, trying to get you down against the cage and trap your arm. Now he's got wrist control on you. That there's just way more things to think about on the feet when you're taking on a guy in Khabib Nurmagomedov that's going to shoot so many times on you, because that's his A plan. That's plan A for Khabib, okay? Get you to the ground, smash. And I think that Khabib's going to get that done against Justin Gaethje in the first. I feel like Khabib's going to get him down. Gaethje's going to pop back up. That's another thing I do need to mention here. I feel as though Gaethje's going to pop back up a couple of times here, and people are going to be like, oh, I don't know. Maybe this is going to go a certain way. But the problem is with Khabib, it's not about can you stuff the takedown. It's about can you keep stuffing the takedowns. That's the real problem with Khabib Nurmagomedov, okay? It's not just can you get him off of you once, because a lot of people have shown that they can get Khabib off of them once. Like, Khabib doesn't have a 100% takedown ratio for that exact reason. People can stuff a couple of takedowns. That's just how it works. It's easier to stuff a takedown than get one, okay? But can you keep doing it? Can you keep doing it? And each time you do it, can you have the same sprawl every single time and not at any point settle on the ground with Khabib? Because I think that once this fight settles on the ground, Khabib is going to have a night and day jiu-jitsu advantage over Justin Gaethje, because you're talking about a guy in Justin Gaethje, regardless of how much he's trained his jiu-jitsu, he has no, and I mean zero, Gaethje has zero experience in grappling at the highest level of MMA. He has not been in a grappling situation in his entire UFC career. I know Michael Johnson went for some takedowns. Poirier went for a flash takedown and Gaethje kicked back up. I understand. But until you experience being in grappling situations at the highest level of the sport, I don't think you're going to be ready for a Khabib Nurmagomedov, which is why I think guys like Tony Ferguson, despite losing to Gaethje, and Charles Oliveira, are going to have the better chances against Khabib Nurmagomedov because they've been in those positions before. They opt into those positions. That's how confident they are there, and that's how experienced they are there. And I think that once this fight stays on the ground, which I think it will for one moment in the first round, as soon as Gaethje doesn't pop right back up, Khabib's going to take him down, hold him down, pass the half guard, get his back, take his back, and I think that Khabib's going to get the job done by rear naked choke. I really do. I think the rear naked choke that Khabib was drilling on Poirier in the first round of their fight, where he was basically just chaining together submissions in the first round, Poirier is able to escape that because Poirier is really good at jiu-jitsu and has a lot of experience in that field in mixed martial arts. I think when Gaethje's on the ground with Khabib in the jiu-jitsu situations, he's going to try and get back up, and maybe there's a little bit of an open in there. You know what I mean? I don't think that he's going to have the jiu-jitsu awareness once Khabib settles on top to escape, to survive, because once you've been on the ground for a while, wrestling kind of leaves the conversation. Now you're in the jiu-jitsu world. It's a different situation now. Although Gaethje will kick up and stuff a couple of takedowns, I'm sure, or scramble out of a couple of takedowns. One thing that Gaethje said that he needs to do in this fight is keep his back away from the cage. I completely agree with that 100%. Khabib's takedown ratio goes way higher whenever he has his opponent against the cage. He seems to prefer his opponent against the cage. But then Gaethje said he needs to keep his back against the cage, but also Gaethje, I'm not going to sit there and go forward anymore. I'm going to dance around and use my footwork and circle around the outside of my opponent. That could have been just a basic game plan for Tony Ferguson, but I feel like Gaethje's recent style is almost a bit worse for him against Khabib than his old style was. Now, Khabib could go out there, or Gaethje could go out there and implement his old style and maybe just shock the world and come out like he did against Edson Barboza, switched on really fast looking for a first round KO. But I think this recent style of Gaethje, where he's moving around on the outside, skirting around, you're naturally putting yourself closer to the cage anyway and giving Khabib octagon control. I don't see Gaethje pushing forward in the center of the octagon and pushing Khabib backwards. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Gaethje's going to scoot around, naturally putting his back closer towards the cage. Khabib's going to get a hold of him. And I think it's going to be a bit of a problem. And it's not just can you stuff the takedowns and how many can you stuff. There's one more aspect. Where are you once you've stuffed those takedowns? That's another huge part of this entire conversation. Gaethje can stuff a takedown. What happens afterwards? Are you in the center of the cage, completely separated? Or is Khabib still got a bit of a hold of you after a takedown has failed, pushing you towards the cage where he can now implement his second takedown, which is going to be more effective now that he's got you against the cage? I don't like it for Justin Gaethje. I understand that he has the potential to go out there and get Khabib out of there. I know that Gaethje has debilitating leg kicks. I understand that very much so indeed. So did Barboza. And Barboza landed a lot of those leg kicks on Khabib Nurmagomedov. He landed a lot of them, and Khabib threw leg kicks back, kept coming forward, kept putting the pace on him, and I think that Khabib's going to get this one done. I just don't like it from Gaethje, in my opinion, because I keep hearing things that are kind of going against what his game plan is, you know? He says he's going to go out there and stuff all the takedowns, but I've heard Gaethje in interviews say before he hates wrestling purely because he gasses out from wrestling. He doesn't like to wrestle in fights because it naturally gasses him out. He doesn't like to do it. That's not the kind of mindset I'm looking for. And although Gaethje can say he's real confident, I'm sure he is, okay? And I'm sure he's got a great chance in doing this. When I hear you say, at any interview, I hate wrestling and I choose not to wrestle because it gasses me out too much, which is a quote from Gaethje, I'm not going to pick you against Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm really not. And it's unfortunate. I like Gaethje. I've picked against him a lot, so maybe I'm wrong here again, but I've also picked against Khabib a lot, so maybe this is a draw. Maybe it's actually a draw, because I've basically picked against Khabib in a lot of his fights, picked against Gaethje in a lot of his fights as well. I can't ruin both of my losing streaks of predictions on them, so maybe it will end in the draw. Maybe you guys should put some money on a draw, because I might have just cursed this with the existence of this video, but still, I'm going to go with Khabib Nurmagomedov. I just think he gets it done on the ground. First round submission, rear naked choke. Gaethje's very dangerous, very aware of this. I'm sure the comments will let me know, dude, you're stupid, you're underrating Gaethje. I'm not. I'm just picking someone to win. And I think that Khabib's going to win. I really do. And I think Gaethje on the feet, where he thinks he's going to be exposing Khabib, he's more going to be thinking about the takedown the entire time and, oh, is my back too close to the cage right now? Like, there's less relaxing on the feet when you're in there with Khabib Nurmagomedov, even though he isn't the worst striker, even though he isn't the best striker in the division. I actually feel like Gaethje would be more comfortable on the feet against Dan Hooker than he would be against Khabib, purely because of the takedown threat of Khabib. I think it just changes the mindset, and it's not going to be too good for Justin Gaethje. But we'll see what happens, man. I'm sure Gaethje is very capable of shocking the world. He did it once before. Of course, Khabib has been out for a very long time, which seems to be constantly a problem with Khabib. He's always out for a very long time. Now, of course, this one wasn't really his fault. He went home. The whole world went crazy. His dad passed away. Rest in peace, Abdulmanap. Oh well, Khabib is out for a while. We can live with that. It's a very understandable reason. So, oh well, Khabib is out for a while. Very cool. Now he's coming back. Normally, I would have a problem with inactivity, but Khabib is always in. Like, there was a moment in time where Khabib went through Barboza, like Quinta had a couple good performances in a row and had some activity behind him and had some momentum. But before that and after that, it feels like Khabib is always coming off of a long layoff and a long time off, and he's back after a while. He came back after a while against Poirier because he was banned from fighting after the McGregor fight, if you'll remember. Then he came back after a while because of all the injuries and the weight misses and all the problems that he had early in his career. So I think if there's anyone that's used to coming back and shaking off the cobwebs and getting straight back to their game plan, it's Khabib. I'm not going to focus too much on the activity. I'm going with Khabib Nurmagomedov. There's other things that I want to say that I can't quite think of right now, and it's really pestering my brain. I'll be honest with you guys, it's ridiculously pestering my brain, and I don't really like it. But that's okay. Smaller octagon, I believe, or it might not be a smaller octagon, but that's what it is. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Khabib moved his training camp close to Abu Dhabi in preparation for this fight. He's already acclimatized. Gaethje left a couple of days ago. I have heard non-stop in interviews, and if you have listened to the interviews of Fight Island so far, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I just listened to James Krause's interview again, and there seems to be a recurring theme of, I wasn't too acclimatized, to the situation. I wasn't ready enough. I didn't get my sleep schedule sorted out. They only get 2 hours of sunlight because they're fighting in an appropriate time to America and the West, even though they're in the Middle East, which is a strange thing to do, but I understand it business-wise for the UFC. But it just seems like the whole schedule once you get to Fight Island is very stressful on the fighters, and Gaethje might have only just got into his hotel room as the time of I'm recording this video. Yesterday, maybe. At best, Gaethje got into his hotel room, and Khabib has been there for a few months already, or a few weeks already, finishing out his training camp. He's going to go right into Fight Island already prepared. And I just heard it from James Krause even, last night's fights. James Krause coming out and saying, God, the one thing I hated about all of this, get me off this island. The sleep schedule was terrible. We had 2 hours of sunlight. I had no idea what I was doing. Paulo Costa, even in his fight, one of the huge reasons. I mean, Karen Bryant came out in an interview and said that, Edikal Balachin, Paulo Costa's coach, came to her before the fight and said, listen, we've had some problems with Paulo Costa. He's not sleeping too well. He can't get his sleep pattern sorted out. It's a really weird adjustment once you get here to Fight Island. I don't like how little time Gaethje has given himself, and I like the preparation of Khabib beforehand. All of those reasons leading to a Khabib first round submission, rear naked choke. I'm not picking it in the first round, because I don't give Gaethje the credit he deserves, okay? As I said before in this video, earlier at the start of the video, that I didn't finish my point on, I can give this guy less of a chance of beating Khabib, but it's going to be a 5-round decision, and I can give this guy more of a chance of beating Khabib in Gaethje, but it's going to be a first-round submission. I just think as soon as both of them stick to the canvas, it's going to be jiu-jitsu clinic. It's going to be jiu-jitsu clinic, okay? It's going to be a bit of a problem, and I think Khabib will get it done. Looking forward to it, though. Like and subscribe. Dagestani's been looking pretty good recently. I know Umar just fell off of the card, so maybe that'll mess up with Khabib, but who knows? I think he's going to be okay, and I think he's going to get the job done. He seems to have his goals prioritized as well. You know, he wants to get to 30-0. He wants to retire 30-0 for his legacy. Just at the mountaintop, I don't see him losing focus and grit yet. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Goodbye. Khabib first round submission.